Signs of the Southland for Saturday, January 24th, 2026, your weekly recap of Georgia Tech numbers and words. My name is Akshay, and joining me, as always, from a frigid, an icy, or like an impendingly icy Atlanta, Georgia, are Jack Purdy and Jake Grant. Gentlemen, winter storm warning on deck. How are we feeling? How many rolls of toilet paper did you buy from your local convenience store today? That's what I want to know.
Honestly, that's not even the biggest theme of my afternoon. For all our listeners out there, Akshay just had to walk me through my computer, locking me out of all browsers for some reason after I updated my phone. Yeah, the ice storm is the least of my worries, guys. I think I need this podcast to bring down my blood pressure, right? Because that's what Georgia Tech Sports does.
Notoriously so. Yes.
I've
Yeah,
always said that
right.
Georgia Tech sports are soothing. That's what you see in a spa. You see Georgia Tech basketball highlights on as you're getting a massage. That's really the dream.
Many are saying, great for the health, great for the wealth, all of the above. But yeah,
Wonderful.
I don't know. I guess we haven't talked as a group, right? If we're addressing the fourth wall here, we haven't talked since the national championship. I thought that went swimmingly. And anyone differ with that? I don't know.
I mean,
I thought it was quite
I
entertaining.
my prediction of like 20 plus point win obviously didn't hold up.
Yeah, I didn't. I really thought Miami would get put in a wood chipper. Fair play to them for coming out up for this one, though. Fair play also to Carson Beck for throwing arguably the most Carson Beck of all Carson Beck picks that I've ever seen in his like 4 years of playing football. Incredible, incredible content. That is NFL QB or NFL draft prospect, quarterback prospect number five for you, ladies and gentlemen.
He
That
has
I think,
won the overwhelming majority of his football games. Let's be clear. Like as much as
and
he is
but in each of the six, he's thrown a catastrophic game-sealing
almost all
interception.
it was like 4 of the 6 or whatever. It was like, yeah, last drive to win throws a pick kind of thing. Yeah, it is an incredible ability to not follow through when it matters most in a situation like that.
It just makes for a great story or a great narrative, perhaps is the better way to put it, you know?
Yes. Yes.
Everyone, there was a lot of focus beforehand, I think, on his comeback or like his revival for going from Miami or going from Athens to Miami. I
hmm
I they've basically ended up in the same spot. I don't think that there's any revival, career renaissance. I think he was a good quarterback this year. I'm not going to sit here and say that he
Oh yeah, he
he
was.
wasn't. But I don't know if there was a career revival per se over the course of 12 months. That seems like a little bit of a rewrite of history. Although I would not go so far as to windmill dunk on him like Atlanta Sports Talk Radio has been trying to do for the past week. So, you know, as always, there the things are nuanced.
The commitment to the bit, even to the very end, I appreciated, you know. But
It was
no,
incredible. You
I
knew it was
I think
coming.
the
You knew it
fact
was coming the entire
well,
time.
and the fact that it was a close game just leads us to ask, how would Indiana have fared against the gauntlet of an ACC schedule that includes the ACC champ, you know? I mean,
We
who's to
avoided we
say,
avo
right?
we avoided the whole Miami has a national title, not an ACC championship thing, which I would have actually annoyed me.
That would have
I
been
would.
pretty funny.
No,
I
it
don't
would have
know,
been
Jack.
hilarious. Let's be very clear. It would have been extremely funny. It would not. It would have been annoying because
I don't want
it's the
them to be
University of Miami. But it like objectively, it would be very funny.
objectively funny, but because it's them, I actively do not want them to ever live in that reality. I want them to keep a big old bagel next to both as long as they're in the ACC. Anyways,
Incredible. Speaking of the ACC, the full conference schedule for 2026 comes out on a Monday night, so 2 days ahead when we record this. What is this, 9 game conference slate on the
eight,
road. Tech will
eight,
be,
eight.
oh, it's eight. Oh, right. This is the year that some of them have nine and some of them have eight, and
Yep.
it's ridiculous because the ACC is ridiculous. On the road, Tech will play Clemson, Pitt, Stanford, and Virginia Tech. And at home, they will host Boston College, Duke, Louisville, and Wake Forest. all 8 games in some form or fashion. You know the other 4; those are already on the schedule. Colorado on September 5th, September 12th versus Tennessee at home, September 19th versus Mercer. All 3 of those are at home, by the way, and then up in Athens on November 28th. Fascinating, truly fascinating. The ACC never ceases to amaze. I can't imagine that I can't imagine any way in which scheduling 9 games for a bunch of your teams and then 8 games for another bunch of your teams will go poorly, truly.
Who's to
Someone's
say?
someone's gonna. I mean, they need to have a team that can just be clear and ahead, just win the damn thing with no tiebreakers or nothing, because it's gonna get someone needs to go on. Someone needs to go undefeated, really, just to solve the problem here. Because if the ACC has to run into this issue again with now the playoff not changing next year, like we know for a fact, we're sticking at 12 and in the same format as we had this year and everything like that. So there's nothing to like. Ed
Yeah.
is, we've already seen this playbook of like, here's how it can absolutely mess up. Now the CFP isn't compensating for you and your fault. Now, is it faulty logic? I don't know. You have divisions, maybe. I don't know. We had a system that worked for a long, long time. Um, but the it is now, the onus is on the ACC now to solve any particular way of like figuring this out. I hope they do not revert to highest team ranked by the college football playoff makes it, because I fundamentally believe that is a flawed poll with
Well, hold on.
insincere.
Is that better or worse than Sports Source Analytics rankings? Like,
Well, at least
it's arbitrary either way.
it is arbitrary either way. I have this idea they could use the advanced EPA per play leaderboard on GameOnPaper.com. I think that one's pretty good. I've heard that one does all
Somehow,
right.
somehow that might make sense. It could work for us. I think the thing that I think about a lot with the ACC's particular brand of nonsense and how that fits into the national college football landscape is something that smarter people than me have said about MLS and its sort of like media environment, or like the effects that parody has on media environment. Insofar as like if you have clear winners and losers, you can draw up pretty clear narratives. Like for in the
Right.
ACC, if Miami, if Clemson, if FSU is dominant, right, or when those teams are dominant, you can draw pretty clear parallels, and you can talk about why they're dominant. You can talk about how they're dominant. You can talk about how other teams are bad, right? But when every team is like, when the error bars in every team are so like close together, right? Or
Yeah.
like all these teams are bunched up together and they're all beating up on each other, like the old Pac-12 or even like the ACC now, or the ACC in 2025, I guess. It is very difficult to put together cohesive narratives, and like talk about teams that separate themselves from the pack,
Yeah.
because there is no team that separates itself from the pack. Like it's hard to just is try to craft a story that way, and so the attention goes somewhere else,
Right.
from the media environment, and so it's hard to say that like a single team stepping out and being undefeated in their ACC slate is like good. I think it would be good if it was Georgia Tech, but setting that aside, like this is just like somehow the ACC has turned itself into MLS, or MLS has become the ACC. I don't know, and that is a really weird media place to be. I don't really know how I feel about it.
MLS, at least the ACC doesn't play in made up competitions in the middle of your season. Like we don't got that going on. Thank goodness.
I mean, well, look, starting in 2027, they're going to play the same exact schedule as the ACC. It might as well be college soccer. Okay, enough bits. Getting to the roster news of the week. Alberto Mendoza, national champion Alberto Mendoza, by the way, has transferred to Georgia Tech. The younger, or the middle brother, excuse me, of Fernando de Mendoza, Heisman winner, prospective #1 draft pick, et cetera, et cetera. He has 3 years of eligibility left. He basically just played in garbage time, at Indiana this past year. 18 for 24 passing, 268 yards, 5 touchdowns, a pick, and 3 rushes for 190 yards. And Tech now has a fully functional, fully full quarterback room with Mendoza in tow, along with Graham Knowles, Grady Adamson, and Cole Bergeron. Jack, I think you put this together in our shot sheet, but this feels kind of like when Haynes King transferred in and Zach Pyron had already started a couple games.
Yeah.
You knew there were a couple other guys that were in the building, and it was just like Royal Rumble. Whoever wins the job wins the job.
Basically, yeah. I mean, we did not. We were. I remember talking about this with I think y'all and some other folks. How like we were like offended at the idea that Zach Pyron could ever lose the starting job when Haynes King showed up, and well, thank God he did lose the starting job because things went a lot better with Haynes King than it probably otherwise would have gone. So I'm not saying Alberto's going to be in this role in this way. Now I don't think they would have brought him in if they didn't think he had a real shot to get the starting job. Because otherwise, get someone else behind Graham or Grady at that point. So I fully expect that he'll be, I mean, at worst, the default for now, unless something really goes haywire in practices or Graham makes a big leap. I mean, any of that's possible. I mean, whatever gets us a functional quarterback with this really good run game that we're going to have next year, and then we'll see. We'll have to figure out if the wide receiver group is good still like that. There's a lot of unknowns there still. Um,
I'm
at
just
worst,
saying there are strategies. There are certain options that you can take to get around,
how
just
many?
having
How
a
many
good running
options?
back.
How many options?
I'm counting about three. I'm
Okay.
just saying.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I was
It's
reading
it's
a
a
thing.
solvable problem.
I was reading a thing about Sean McVay's offense, and they would also have three wide receivers on the field in his big pack in his very effective packages. So maybe wide receivers or running backs, figure it out. Um, but yeah, Alberto can run though, which is a good thing. Like we aren't losing, we aren't getting a pure pocket quarterback here, which doesn't make sense in the college game anyways. So, um, in a way, I bet we'll have a lot of the same going on next year in terms of just like try to have
Yep.
good blocking schemes, use the running backs we have. Justice Haynes is going to be very, very important. Malachi Hosley is going to be very, very important. We're going to have a 1-2 tandem that's going to be very, very good relative to the rest of the conference. So, at worst,
Yep.
we have offensive weapons to get us through the ACC slate next year if people stay healthy. That's the good thing, which is not a thing we necessarily were aware of or were sure about in the last month. And now this is a much better spot to live. Where the defense will land, we'll see. I hope I don't know. The spring game I think it's announced in like the next month or so. Uh, so we'll see if they play it. Like I know some teams are just like, why bother? Last year's spring
Well,
game,
now, there's no second
or
transfer window, so
it's
that
easier.
helps.
That's true because last year like they didn't want to play Rivers and Patterson after they came because it was like, why show them off? That makes no sense whatsoever. And then they were quote unquote hurt. Ain't no way in hell they were hurt.
And you've already
Yeah,
got Dabo talking about how Ole Miss has signed someone away from Clemson, and that story was crazy. Like basically the recruit or the transfer recruit was like, "Oh, well, we'll turn over all these text messages that prove that Ole Miss is tampering if you raise my salary by $1 million." Uh, which it's the Wild West. It's somehow less the Wild West and also more the Wild West without the second transfer window. It's very odd.
the second transfer window is just shifted to the U.S. legal system and how you can there was that one guy who literally unenrolled from a college he was at and then re-enrolled somewhere else, just like completely circumnavigated the portal entirely and just quote unquote quit school and then just signed up for school somewhere else and then he had a scholarship. So I mean that's a much more dangerous route, I'd say, an unlikely route to make it work because it doesn't guarantee you admission to the school technically. Uh, but there is still no path. The calendar's going to be different next year probably too because there's still enough coaches being like, why the hell are these portal stuff? It's so weird. Also next year the
Coaches like
champion.
complaining though. That's the thing. It's like coaches love to complain and then not actually fix the problem.
Well, they were not in charge of the count,
Well,
at least the playoff counter. Go ahead, Jake.
no, I was just gonna say, like, for all of the, you know, ink being spilled on Ole Miss and Clemson and transfer and all that, there's a lot of actors here, right? You got Ole Miss, you got Dabo at Clemson, you got agents, you got players. At the end of the day, like, people are responsible for their own actions in some form or fashion, right? So like
Yeah.
for all of the like, oh, the transfer portal is taking XYZ player away or this, that, and the other thing, like, yeah, I'd love for, you know, insert Georgia Tech player who is left to still be here. But at the end of the day, it's a collection of actions and choices taken by people. And I think we both are and this may be me talking too much from a high horse or whatnot, but we're both writing way too much into what players are doing and excoriating them for making fairly reasonable decisions of, hey, this is my one time to earn,
Oh
da da
yeah,
da da
yeah.
da, keep going. But also that at the same time, at the very same time, we also let them off the hook with some of this tampering and things like that. Those are people also electing to respond to those messages, right? They're electing to engage with the content or
The Pete Goldings of the world offering you
yes,
money to
exactly.
transfer.
Exactly. And like,
It
oh,
takes two
well,
to tamper, right?
Yeah.
their kids, they're 18, especially in the
Takes
transfer
two to
portal.
tamper.
It takes two
Wow.
to tamper,
What a
right?
line.
Like you're sure they're 19, 20, 21 years old, but like you got to take responsibility for your actions, right?
They are they
If
are adults.
or
They
maybe
are
they
adults.
or maybe like or maybe they don't care and that's part of it. And that's fine. That's fine. If you want to not care, sure, great, whatever. But like for me to like respond to this as if it's some sort of like moral failing that both absolves the kids or absolves the adults, I don't think it's fair.
No.
So
I mean,
that's something that's
di-
been sitting on my mind the past couple days.
that makes sense. And also, like Darian Mensah could not be in his legal trouble with Duke University now if he win if that plays a different route, and
Yep.
he can tell Miami,
Yeah.
no, I have a contract. I have to hold myself to a contract here. Uh,
Yeah.
sure, you can try and find a way to buy it out, but like it's just because there's so few guardrails right now. Just things get so muddy, it's so murky, and just ugly so
As
quickly, which really
as
sucks.
always, the problem is the NCAA. The NCAA is always the source of the issue. It's fantastic. Truly. It's truly iconic to have a sport so functional and dysfunctional at the same time because of its lack of a central governing structure. Truly iconic. Truly memorable. Never going to cease to amaze me. What other stuff will not cease to amaze me? Tech finished 24th in the last coaches poll of 2025. That's their highest finish since 2014. In a season in which they got up to seventh in the AP polls. That's pretty nifty to stay ranked at the end of the year. Viewership on TV was up 36% for Tech games year over year. They got a lot of prime TV slots at noon and later into the night at 7:30, and also on solo broadcast windows on ESPN, ESPN2, like ABC. Like they were on a bunch of different networks that were top line. They had a total of 33.8 million viewers across 10 Nielsen tracked networks in the ACC universe. They were second in that number behind Miami in the ACC. So Miami gets the national championship bump and also the Miami bump, but that helps in terms of the way that revenue generation or revenue sharing works in the ACC's new deal. That will give Tech a nice boost in their revenue. Anything else on the football side of things, gents?
No more Tech players in the NFL playoffs. The Bills lost, 49ers lost. So Keon White's out, Jackson Hawes is out, so we won't have ourselves a Tech player getting a Super Bowl ring. But I mean, I don't mind. I'd rather the Seahawks win over them anyway. So
By the way, time out for a second. Did you see just like how the Bills have just imploded over the course of a week?
I mean, they interviewed Phil Rivers to be their head
That
coach.
that was crazy. I
That's
seen
it.
that
That's
headline
what that's
was
the stuff the Colts do, not the
did.
Bills.
Like sometimes you forget about ownership and the importance of ownership sort of just fronting the money and staying out of the way of the people who know how the business
Well,
works,
I should say I should be fair. That's the stuff Jim Irsay would do. Not just like the Colts. His daughters have done a great job so far with how they've approached handling that team. That is a very Jim Irsay specific move, not a
To
Colts
be fair,
organization
they
move.
also did the GM of the Colts did also go back and call up Philip Rivers like he was part of the Expendables and say you want in for one last ride, and
I
then
mean,
they did
it
not
did,
make the playoffs.
they did make the playoffs, but it certainly wasn't terrible. It was weird how much better it worked out than expectations. Anyways, we're not an NFL podcast.
We only moonlight as an NFL podcast. Speaking of I don't even have a segue for this. Speaking of the pros, I guess this is speaking of the pros because men's basketball has its own professionals coming back down to the college level, which we can talk about at length.
which is
The Georgia Tech,
insane.
Yes, yes.
differently insane. Georgia Tech men's basketball suffered its ninth loss
Ninth
of the
or tenth.
season.
I think it's tenth. I don't know. One of those two. I didn't update it.
It is kind of depressing that we did not bother to fact check
Ninth,
this.
ninth.
But I think that gives you an idea of what kind of state this team is in. They are 11-9. They are 132nd in KenPom and 134th in the Bartorvik rankings. They lost to number 18 Clemson, 77-63. I think on last week's episode we talked at length about Damon Stoudemire's future career prospects at Georgia Tech. So if you would like to hear more about that particular discussion, I would go check that out. Jackie, you talked to me about this game.
This game was very alike what you I think we would think would happen. It was close for the first half. We actually were winning at the end of the first half until they put up a buzzer beater three to take the lead at the start or at the end of the half. And then second half, Clemson broke away. It was not really a big deal. The big news was that Mo Silla was back from his injury, comes back for like two possessions in the first half, goes for a putback, falls down, stays on the floor, hurt, carried or helped back to the locker room. We were thinking, oh no, it not even barely any game time in, and he's hurt again. He did come back in the second half, but only for like a couple minutes. So he was able to play, thankfully, at the end, but they were definitely restricting how many minutes he played. And like even on those little couple minutes he was playing, like you could tell there's a difference around the rim. Like we just don't have enough of a rim presence to really make a massive difference. Bynadongo is not doing enough there. It comes down to whether Koasi can shoot a gazillion points and make it work. Cam Kraft had a couple flashy moments. Kerouac had a couple flashy moments. But it's I think when I was describing this to a couple other friends watching the game, and it's just like we don't have enough to actually like outplay anybody. We just have to merely hope a team doesn't do well enough. That was the only reason we were in it in the first half because Clemson was just missing three after three after three, and so their efficiency was way down from what it could have been. And that was the only reason we were within a couple points, leading. We had a 7-0 run at one point, and then Clemson went on a 12-0 run and kind of just ran away with things. So it's not, the nothing made this team look better than they had been playing today. That's for sure. At home, I mean, you lose by 14 at home to a ranked team. Yes, Clemson's good, but like you can do better. I'll say the crowd was pretty good though. It was not like overwhelmingly. It wasn't like a massive, just a bunch of Clemson fans there. There was a lot of people that brought their kids and stuff like that. It was great to see. There's a good amount of students there. They did do a pizza giveaway for 1,000 students, so that definitely helped get kids in the door for that. So in terms of just like raw atmosphere, plenty good given the situation that we're in as a basketball program. Was not disappointed on that front, but the actual basketball itself has. I mean, you can listen to what we said in the last pod, but I don't have any real hope that this is going to be different until the 26-27 season.
At this point, you could probably put in like any number for the loss column, and I'd probably believe you.
Yep. Well,
And
not not
-1?
9 or 10. Well, 9 or 10, I would not believe you if we won out. But
yeah, fair. Yeah, you could name a number, and I believe you. Next two fixtures for men's basketball: Tuesday at Virginia Tech, that's 8 p.m. tip, and then Saturday the whiteout game for the season versus North Carolina, that will be a 2 p.m. tip. Let's flip over to the women's side of McCamish Pavilion. They are 8-12 after a loss to UNC, 54-46. This one was tight most of the way. The margin was usually right around 8 points, which is weird considering, well, I guess unexpected considering how good UNC was coming into this game. I believe they were the 15th ranked team in the nation, and Tech. Obviously, Tech is not ranked, but Tech was 89th in the Torvik rankings. North Carolina was 20. In the Torvik data, Tech posted an 89 game score, which is back on track for
that's
where
really
they
good.
were before this Duke game. So I think they're holding their own here in a lot of these games. They're just not able to finish the drill.
Yeah.
They're a lot better at home too. Like that. If this was on the road, I bet you this is way worse. Just for now, but like yes, they beat SMU on the road. SMU was beatable, but like that ignore that Notre Dame win was at home, and so they've done good in that regard. So I like that for them. But they have two road games coming up, so this will be it'll be interesting to see how they get through this stretch in the next week because that could be pretty telling. And like, okay, all right, is that Turner all the way turned? Is that corner all the way turned coming out of 2020, coming into 2026? Or was it just a flash in the pan for the first couple weeks of the year and then it dies off going into the conference tournament?
I mean, I think we marked out this next stretch, and I guess we're recording on a sun or a Saturday this week because the ice storm, just in case of power issues. But if we really had this data point from this Florida State game in hand, I think we'd know a lot more about this team because that margin
Yep.
is really, really tight. And like you said, it's away at Florida State. Bartorvik has the margin as plus 1.6 for Florida State, but it's a 44% win probability for Tech. Like anything within that 40 to 60 range, not literally a coin flip, but you can totally see it going either way. So I really wish we had that data point in hand because I think that would make our discussion about if they have turned the corner a lot more interesting. But I guess that's what we have next weekend for. Gentlemen,
We'll
podcast
see.
business time.
Yes.
Sure thing. It's going to be pretty similar to the last time we talked. The fallows of January, they are light. Same six schools for Section 103, but that doesn't mean the product is any less excellent. You can buy them at section103.com. And remember, in addition to Georgia Tech, they're the best place to find Clemson, South Florida, Georgia Southern, Kennesaw State, and LSU apparel. Free shipping on orders over $100 every day. And tell them we sent you. Use code FTRS. Gents, that's what we got. What's left?
Before we get to swim and dive, I was just poking around on the website real quick. Did you know we got an AI generated comment about the new Berlin airport on our two weeks ago
What?
on 297?
What? No.
Yes.
What?
So I think
No?
we talked. I have no idea if we talked about the Berlin airport
No.
on that episode
We did
or
not.
maybe like something about the Berlin airlift, maybe. But like there is a
Why would we be talking
massive.
about the Berlin airlift either?
I'm sending you this link. We're keeping all this in, by the way. This just completely just took me aback when I saw that there was a comment on there. This is like a incredible AI generated just paragraph randomly posted here. This is great audio.
Thank God it's AI. Let's hear. Oh Lordy. Yeah, this is not written by a human. This is definitely AI in all the ways,
It's
shape,
like
and
an
form.
advertisement for Berlin Brandenburg Airport.
I didn't know that this happened on the internet anymore. You
And
know, like
the account that posted it was created on January 20, so 4 days ago. Uh so
incredible.
yeah, pretty bad. Pretty bad interneting right there. That's what I'd say.
I do
Great.
love me some airports, though, guys. I must say.
And now to do an entire segment on Brandenburg Airport. Just kidding. We're not doing that. Let's talk about swim and dive instead. Miami did not travel to Atlanta for this week's dual meet. It was just South Carolina at Macaulay Aquatic Center. The Georgia Tech men won 151 to 137, and the Georgia Tech women lost 197 to 102. Top line today, Vivian Rothwell broke her own 100 back record, down point or 19 hundredths of a second, down to 27:44. The 200-meter relay posted its second fastest time in program history at 138:27. Phoebe Wright posted the second fastest 200 back time in program history, now making her the holder of the seven fastest times in the event at Georgia Tech, at 1:53:93. Ricky Baldinici posted the fourth fastest 100 back in program history. Zara Masood posted the third fastest 100 fly in program history and the sixth fastest 200 fly in program history. And then the women's free relay, 400 free relay, excuse me, posted the third fastest time in program history. A lot of in fastest in program history marks in this meet, which is really fun. I think just as a top line item, that is just really fun to see. Even if you factor in that the women's program has not been around for as long as the men's program or those swimmers, like that program's pedigree has not been as large. So that's really awesome to just see record after record, week after week. I think that's a good sign of growth from this team.
They need it. It's good. The other piece with Phoebe is that like she's got the seven fastest times. No other swimmer in tech history has more than four of the fastest times in a given event. So like she truly has been owning this every time she swims it. I think we clocked this when Vivian was did really well around the holidays. Like, wait a second, you're swimming program record swims like before taper season, and now they're getting a little bit
Yep.
faster. And we had a long list of these last time we talked, and here's another long list of these we're talking about this time we talked with a brand new meet. And so it's stuff's happening and stuff's really good. They don't swim for about a month now because ACCs aren't for a month. Max Fowler, who did win his 1 and 3 meter dive events against South Carolina, they don't. He'll have another event on in mid February, but we will the next time we talk about them. Well, we'll probably do like a little mini I assume Jake will have some sort of little mini preview thing we can whip up for
We'll
that
have some
because
thoughts.
we'll have something there. But at worst, like this list should be really long because everyone will have a full taper. It'll be the whole team for one. So like it's gonna be everybody's gonna give them what they've got. And then we'll see who makes it to NCAAs, which thankfully are in our building as well. But that's obviously far from a guarantee for basically anybody except for Max Fowler at this point. Um, so we'll see how that goes. But it's good. This is the kind of progress that John Ames is making a very clear impact very early on in his first couple of years under running this program with reduced scholarships at that. Like that's a big thing too.
Yeah.
Like that with less ammo, we're doing more on the women's side, which was already, just in general, one of the lower funded sports in the entire campus. So
Yeah. No, it's good to see.
Look,
I'm excited for
record
them.
board made to be broken. All those records made to be broken. So it's pretty sick. It's
love it.
pretty
Well,
sick.
and I think one thing I'll highlight there too is just, if you can keep it consistent and high recruiting, like this is a team that didn't have a ton of depth. That's had some stars in the past, but if you can keep people like this around, then maybe it's a general upward trajectory to point to more broadly, if that makes sense. That's kind of where I'm sitting at least with it.
This is one of those things that goes back to our usual stance on this. It's that this program should be very good, considering that they swim in a former Olympic pool, a literal former Olympic pool. And I don't know. This could be the first couple steps here, right? On the women's side, and the
Yeah.
men have already been fairly consistent about posting, lower part of the top 25 rankings and putting people in NCAAs. So having that same equity on both sides will be really, really nice. On to track and field. They had the Orange and Purple Invitational in, you guessed it, Clemson, South Carolina this past weekend. The top line thing to note, Lottie Chapel placed second place in the 1 mile and posted the second best 1 mile time in program history. That is at 4 minutes, 44 seconds and a 46 milliseconds. 46, 460. Wow, words are hard. 460 milliseconds. Claire Shelton was first place in the 3K. Sadie Honig was third place in the women's 3K. Billy Carlton placed third in the men's mile, and Kendall Ward tied for third in the women's high jump. So a pretty nice little cache of podium finishes against it's Clemson, it's Florida State, a lot of good other competition at the ACC level here for the track and field side. Anything else on this first of two consecutive Clemson-based invitationals, gentlemen?
Only two? They don't live there?
I was gonna say that seems a little light.
Might as well just book one of those hotels in Clemson because they are going to be back next week for the Bob Pollock Invitational. I didn't actually look all the way down the schedule. I imagine there's at least one more that has some other version of orange or purple or invite or invitational or some
feel like-
other
Or Bob
third name.
Pollock.
Right. I think
Yeah.
we did a bit last year where we just started naming fake Clemson Invitational events and just assumed they were all real. Like the Tiger Paw Invitational, that's probably real.
I think that
one
is real.
I
Actually,
Yeah,
think
okay, there you
that is real.
yeah, we should do
I'm very
trivia. It's like
positive
name.
that's real.
is the what is the white and orange track event real or not? I don't
Is
think
the
that
white
one's
and
real.
orange Elite Invitational real or fake?
Is the
Let us know in the
Adidas
comments.
purple 50-yard line dash?
It would that one is definitely fake because Nike,
That's true. Yeah.
unfortunately. So you played yourself on that
Damn.
one.
We gotta have some easy
Uh,
ones.
but like I said, next weekend, Bob Pollock Invitational at Clemson, South Carolina. Your last varsity sport update of the week is women's tennis. They went up to Auburn on the 20th. Not much to report from Auburn in a 6-1 loss. And then ITA kickoff weekend was canceled due to this massive winter storm that is allegedly supposed to be bringing ice to my doorstep right around now and has yet to do so. So that's fun. That is really fun. Anything else on women's tennis, gentlemen? Do we want to dive in a little bit on this Auburn fixture?
Not much, although I will note that they once again, like last week, did third set tiebreak game instead of a full set. So like Alejandra Cruz won her match by winning a third set tiebreak 10-8 and just winning that long game instead of actually playing a full-fledged first to six thing. So there was
Same
that.
thing on court three, by the way, but that
Yeah.
was for Auburn and not for Tech.
Yeah. I don't know if I mentioned this on the pod, but Carol Lee last week was one qualifying match away from making the Australian Open field. She ended up losing her match, but she was one win away. I don't know if I don't know her any of her experience on a clay or grass court, so I don't know if she's going to be in the running for Roland Garros or Wimbledon. But at worst, that's a good sign for the U.S. Open later this year. And she's played some challenger events, and she has done actually kind of good in the challenger events she plays in. So in terms of like best active tech tennis player, it's her because Andres Martin hasn't won a damn thing in a while, unfortunately.
Womp
Uh,
womp.
so we might. Who knows? I'm just keeping tabs on this Carol Lee thing. We'll see where this goes. I don't think she gets any like major points or anything by winning a couple qualifying matches for the major, but the matches she has played, she's been very competitive in so far.
I don't remember if this was in the Jack era, but Jake, do you remember when Andres Martin and another tennis player just randomly went and played a tournament in Turkey,
Yes, I was here for
one
this.
like
Yeah.
preseason,
No, it was
and then
Tunisia.
this
It was Tunisia.
oh, it was Tunisia. Yeah, they just played a tournament. They played like they won a tournament in Tunisia,
Well, and
but
then
like
yeah, and
and
here
then
and
came back and it was
yeah,
just so weird. They just
well,
disappeared for 2 weeks.
and the coaches clarified. I think I asked this on. You can dig back and find the Kenny Thorne episode from 3 years ago that I recorded with them. But I asked them about this, and they mentioned that yeah, basically they have to like spend all their prize money because they couldn't make money on those events, and so like if they
Yep.
play like however they got whatever happened with that money, they somehow had to get rid of it. I don't know what happened with it, but like even when they played the Atlanta event, rest in peace, like they could just like post up at like a fancy ass hotel, like at the 12 or whatever in Atlantic Station, and just spend all the cash that way because they couldn't take any of it home with them as prize money technically. So they use it all as expenses. Now I guess they could have
Yep.
used the expenses to like book a really nice flight out of out of Tunis or something like that. So wherever they were going to Amsterdam to Atlanta, I don't know. Uh, but it's so weird. Maybe that rules has changed now with NIL. I have no clue. Uh, but anyways, yes, that there are weird machinations in tennis that still exist. It's a very different sport from the rest of the main ones out there.
The tennis, like the pro tennis pipeline or like the college to pro tennis pipeline and how those two systems interact is just still fascinating to me. Like, is it a development pipeline? Is it not a development pipeline? It's very soccery
It's a
in that.
little of A, a little of B, I feel like.
Yeah.
Something like that. I forgot
Yeah.
there is one more update I must mention to y'all as I'm scrolling on the American Express leaderboard. But our good friend, where's the South African? Christo Lamprecht did in fact make the cut at the American Express Open, his first PGA Tour event. He's currently 149th. He's not having he had a pretty bad first round at shooting a 77, but he came back with a 67 and so he made the cut, but he's not having a good day today. But we got a guy on the actual PGA Tour now, which is nice.
Hey,
We take
one
that.
one is more than zero. One is more than zero. One more note on women's tennis. Their next two fixtures, Clean Old Fashioned Hate will be at home at 1 p.m. on the 30th, and then on February 1st they will face Jacksonville State. That's also a 1 p.m. start. Jack, you want to talk to me about club hockey?
Hockey has been doing things. They played 3 matches against Florida State to start 2026 part of their calendar. They won all 3 of them, and then they lost to Tennessee last week 7-1. And I think they lost to Kennesaw State last night because there's only updates for their first and second period, at which they were tied 1-1, and there is not another post anywhere else to be found. I know some of y'all might be listening to this that are on the team, so let us know what happened, please. They were going to play tonight. That game got postponed for the supposed ice that yeah, I don't think we're getting ice anymore. That's just if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I got a feeling we're just getting some cold rain. Uh, but yeah, they're doing stuff. I need to make it myself. I need to get to a game so at some time this semester. They're a fun time.
Been a long time since I've gotten to one, but
Where
uh,
is the ice forum again? Is that still up in Duluth?
I believe so.
Mm, mm. Well, when they put the new hockey arena, the NHL arena in Alpharetta, we'll just go there. Easy.
party time, man, party time. Well,
Yeah.
I'll believe that in like 21 million, you know.
Atlanta Thrashers 2, Electric Boogaloo, surely. Speaking of Atlanta sports, Chad Bishop, who's AJC's tech beat writer, has moved over to cover the Braves for this upcoming season. No word yet on who his replacement is on the tech beat, but Chad was really good to us. Really, really great guy. He's always willing to give us a shout and have a conversation with us. So congrats to him and hope he does really well in his new job.
He will. He will. The Bishop bump was real when Ken phased out and then Chad showed up and then while we were winning games all of a sudden I did give him hell that the first thing I saw from a tech athlete after he got the Braves job was Mo Silla going down hurt again. So he better bring us a division title at worst.
It's always good to hang another one of those pennants up at SunTrust Park. Speaking of other sponsorships news, the NCAA is allowing jersey sponsorships now. I can't wait until athletes are just race cars, and there's like they have visor ads like in Talladega Nights, like over the windshield. It's going to be great.
Add helmet stickers. My favorite meme I've seen about this is an Oregon jersey with a Nike patch and then a second Nike patch.
Two dueling Nike patches.
Just
You
on
get
top of
Nike
each other.
patches on both shoulders.
It's
They're gonna be like Liga MX jerseys, where they even have a like a ad on the back, on the lower back, and
I
the
think
upper
it's
back, and the
yeah.
shoulders.
I think it's just one, like how the NBA does it and MLB do it right now. Now, if this happens, I mean, there's nowhere in like, are we doing this yet? This is brand new news, but like you would think Hyundai's probably in the lead to be the team that would be on the tech jersey because of their previously existing relationship with the team. Maybe Invesco QQQ. I think best case scenario it's Waffle House because of their connection to the school and that the fact the colors work. So that would be ideal and most on brand for us, I would say. Coke, unfortunately, I'm gonna say no to y'all, even though y'all got all the gazillions of dollars because there's a pretty clear incorrect color on that logo they're not gonna get away from.
To be fair,
Uh,
Coke generally, I think, other than like the big sports sponsorships, like the league
they
wide
haven't done
deals,
team wide. They haven't
or
done team
yeah,
specific stuff. Yeah,
those are left to the bottlers. Like that's why you
yeah.
see some teams in Mexico that have the Coke logo on their jerseys. That's left to the local bottler, whether they want to sign those deals or
Yeah.
not.
We'll see. If
Just to confirm the rules, by the way, because to one of your points, it's actually there are two logo spots
oh two,
on
not one. Okay,
uniforms.
my bad.
Yeah. So, quote this is from the Sporting News. Quote, under the new legislation, schools may display up to two additional commercial logos on uniforms and one on equipment during the regular season and postseason. An extra logo will also be permitted on uniforms and apparel during conference championship events. Each patch is limited to 4 square inches, and the policy applies to non-NCAA championship competition, end quote. So, college football playoff is eligible.
So
The
it's
ACC championship is eligible. Obviously, the regular season is eligible. However, I think this is not just for football. This is for
all
every
sports.
sport.
That makes sense.
So, and the inverse of this last clause means that the policy, like, and in NCAA championship events, those patches are banned. So when the NCAA
Mm,
controls the sponsorships, there is no
right, that makes sense.
there is no ban. So that's like FIFA and the I guess not the Olympics,
Olympics,
but
yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
right, but like the Masters, the Masters is probably the most is the easiest way to do this because there's no sponsor branding
No, no, anywhere on
on
the
those.
course, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a base of two can go up to three, or a base of one can go up to two.
Um, base of one can go up to two, if the
Got
way
it.
that I
Okay.
understand this, and then that's just uniforms, and then there's separate one on equipment.
Okay.
Yeah. So, um, 4 square inches is probably as big as the Rose Bowl patches. I'm looking at a picture of Fernando Mendoza
Yeah,
on the
that's a
Sporting News
pretty
site.
yeah, it's a pretty simple patch. That's nothing egregious. If it
Yeah.
hey, maybe Drew Burr should sell his bat. That's get some licensing there. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, turn that into a race car, right? Like,
Yeah,
you
may
get,
as well.
yeah, it's, I mean, I expect there to be like glove sponsors, surely, for football, like glove, sleeve.
Something
I
like
don't
that. I
know.
know
Like,
the
someone's gonna sign NIL
yeah,
deals for this stuff.
yeah, they've got. I know baseball's got a pretty locked in deal with one with an equipment supplier for gloves and bats and
40,
stuff
it's like
like
44
44
gloves or
something. Yeah,
something. 44 something.
I don't know if that's a sub brand of like Rawlings or someone big, or how that all, or if they're independent. I don't know. I'm not that well versed since I've stopped playing ball. But nonetheless, I mean, there. As much as I hate that as this thing, well, that's money that we need. Like we're gonna have to do this in some
Yep.
form or fashion just to hold serve with and play catch up to any amount. Now, thankfully, we can. This is very good news in the context of where our TV ratings have been recently. Um, and so at least for football, we made that this year. We made that advertisement even more valuable than we would have been the year before. So there is a lot of there's good to be found in it. As I think us as uniform purists, this is basically heresy. Uh, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine. So they'll figure it out. There'll be some basic rules where it'll be like it can't be red, like with how the Mets had a red patch on their jerseys for a hot sec because of the hospital and change that up. Like
What,
they'll
you
make
don't
those
like Quick
clearances.
Read on the Braves shoulders? You
Nope.
don't like the yellow on there?
No, they there's a reason I haven't bought a Braves jersey in a long time. And it is because of that.
I mean, I think that Tech will get very quickly involved in this. If I'm like very, very quickly involved in this, I'm surprised they didn't have something lined up already. Honestly,
Oh, they might have. They might
um,
have. Like the news just came out in terms of in terms of
yeah,
the little
maybe that
thing
just
here.
gets announced because I think this is slated to take effect during the next athletic year. Um, so I
Who do
imagine
we
that
sponsor?
on
Who do we
July.
sponsor? Do we do women's tennis? Is that what we have the budget for? We don't have a budget, so
This is all
You're the
hypothetical.
boss.
Yeah, this is you. You do have a budget.
I don't
Who do
think
you
they would
want to
take.
sponsor? Who would you sponsor? This is actually a serious question. Who
Who would
you do control our budget? Who would you sponsor if you
uh
had the budget to sponsor?
I would want. Okay, what is the most us is the
I
thing.
also putting aside the ethical, the journalist, the quote unquote journalistic ethics of sponsoring a team that you cover. Setting
Fair.
that aside,
Yeah. I mean, it's not like we're hiding who we're rooting for. Um, I feel like some swim caps is like our lane, pun sort of intended.
Ha
boo.
ha ha
Sort of,
ha
only sort of. Like I think
ha.
like we get the swim caps of the swimmers that are in lanes like 2 and 6. Like we don't
Oh,
get the
you
middle
want to
lanes.
slice and dice
No,
this?
no, no,
You
no,
want
no.
to slice and dice this real good?
The middle lanes are too expensive. We got to get the side lanes. We can't have competitive race. We can't have the most competitive racers. Those are too
We
pricey.
can't have competitive racing. Yeah, fair.
I
Maybe
mean, look, you can probably get a jersey patch that's on the actual suit.
maybe. Well, you
That's a
can't see
little.
that. You can't see that. You need to have the swim cap because that's the only part above the
Mm,
water that you can see.
mm.
Well, I guess they do have underwater cameras. That could be, actually that's you make a good point. We could totally put it on the thigh. I don't know if it's for the guys. Okay, that's enough of this conversation.
Yeah, a little weird.
I I think that's it for us. Jake, you want to take us out?
Yeah, for sure. As always, this podcast is brought to you by FromTheRumbleSeat.com. You can email us at FromTheRumbleSeat@gmail.com. We got a great suggestion for next summer's episodes, long deep dive interview type stuff last week. So keep them coming. We always appreciate that. Keep an eye on FromTheRumbleSeat.com for the written word as well. You can find us on Twitter and Blue Sky. I'm over on Blue Sky, Akshay, Jack, FTRS blog. You know the drill. You can find Section 103 at section103.com and at Section 103 on Instagram. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all those great sites. Keep an eye on GameOnPaper.com. Akshay and Jack and the gang are hard at work over there. You can find this podcast wherever fine podcasts are distributed. And until we speak again, good night, good luck, and go Jackets.